Welcome to episode 1 of Build with Rob. This episode will really be more of a complete breakdown of everything that we do at the Dyrdek Machine and why I have decided to create the Build with Rob show and what exactly you can expect to hear and learn while listening to the Build with Rob show. And the first thing I really want to talk about is what is the Dyrdek Machine? You know, the Dyrdek Machine is a venture creation studio. We are a business that creates businesses by systematically fusing art, science, and magic. And that is a process, you know, and that process is the machine method. And everything that you will hear on the Build with Rob show is a certain stage of the machine method, right? And the machine method itself is made up of 5 key phases, our core elements, our principles, and our Do-or-Dier founders. Our phases are, we go through a discovery phase that leads to a diligence phase, that leads to a build phase, to the launch phase, and then the scale phase is the life cycle of when we create a company. We build companies through our machine core elements. It is the core to more consumer, the core business capabilities, and the core leadership engine. This is the multidimensional approach to business creation. Missing any of these elements could be crucial to the success of a business, and it's something that we have refined through building many different companies and is the cornerstone of the machine method. Our principles are our core values of what will even dictate whether or not we will choose to do an idea. And Do-or-Dier founders is how we describe exactly the type of mentality and mindset of the type of people that we create companies with. Let me start first with just sort of explaining the concept of a venture creation studio. We're not an incubator. We're not traditional venture capital where we just invest in ideas. We call it a creation studio because we only build businesses from the idea stage. We want to be co-founders, connect with an entrepreneur, create that idea together and build the company from the very, very beginning. We say that we are fueled by the joy of creation. And this studio as a whole is my life's work. It's my ultimate passion. There's nothing I love doing more in this world than connecting with a fellow do-or-dier entrepreneur and creating a business together. You know, and you know, all of the capital that we deploy is my personal capital. We don't have limited partners or LPs. We do not have a GP structure where we're the general partner and we invest other people's money and get 20% of the profits and a 2% management fee. We fund the entire business through our actual ventures and then invest all of our own capital into every single one of our builds. Very, very unique in the sense of it's, you know, living on both sides of both venture and operator, because I love to actually create companies more than anything. But I don't want to operate them. I want to connect with amazing entrepreneurs and validate the ideas and then build those companies together, help shape and use all the experience that I've had throughout my lifetime of building companies to help turn it into a successful venture. When we're building a company, we really look for entrepreneurs that have what we call founder market fit. Do they have experience in the actual industry that they want to create a company in? And sometimes, you know, it sits on the fringe where you have deep, you know, sales or operational experience that sits next to the industry you want to get into, and your skill set and your experience applies to it. Sometimes that happens, but at the end of the day, we are really hoping to eliminate a lot of the pitfalls of discovering and learning about an industry while you're trying to build a company. And it's different. You'll learn throughout this show that we've done a lot of different types of companies with varying stages of types of entrepreneurs. And this all sort of helps shape what we are today, right? And when we think about who we're hunting to build a company with, we want this to kind of be their moment, their magnum opus. All their experience has led up to this moment of creating this company together. And what we offer is this ability to accelerate the path to product market fit. Because at the end of the day, you don't really have a viable, sustainable business until you find that product market fit. And for us, we want to be experts in it. I want to be the Sherpa to amazing do-or-dier entrepreneurs that I can help guide and shape throughout the entire process and be a sounding board and validate when the ideas are good and help deter making bad ideas. And all of this is this agile, structured, creative, chaotic process in order to develop and create a brand that's special. And we're trying to systematize this and do it over and over again. And by systematizing it, we continue to optimize it so that every time we do it, again, we learn more and more and add more to this system so that we can get more and more consistent. Because the goal down here is to never lose. This isn't a venture capital fund where it's like, hey, we're going to invest in 20 things and we just need one to work. This is not an incubator where, we're going to have all these shared services and let's hope 1 in 100 works. Every single time we decide to move forward, we only do it because we think there is no doubt that this is going to work, and in order to get that consistent, you have to create a process. And our process is the machine method. And the machine method encompasses every single aspect of the entire venture creation studio that is the Dyrdek Machine. It is our process, but it also includes Build with Rob, this show, as a part of our media and how we integrate our builds into our own media. It includes our machinists, our group of loyal consumer collaborators that are part of our feedback loop to develop and create each one of these businesses. And then ultimately, when we find success, we want to donate some of the profits that we make into our Do-or-Dier Entrepreneur Foundation to give underprivileged and underserved communities an opportunity to get capital, chase their own dreams in this entrepreneurial game. But to start first with explaining the machine method and how it works as a whole, and it's essentially 5 core phases, right? So it starts first with the discovery phase. Very, very important phase, and it's a simple one. It's not like there's a lot of different ways that we get deal flow. Ultimately, deal flow comes to us, since we're looking for an idea stage, it's primarily through sort of relationships and people that we know and people that we meet over time, and ultimately say, hey, let's build a company. Whenever you're ready, we would love to create a company. Now, part of our website at dyrdekmachine.com, we do have Are You a Do-or-Dier section that gives people a chance to pitch us their ideas, because we do want to also open ourselves up to really talented, experienced entrepreneurs that wouldn't have any way to be in our network. So, the discovery phase is ultimately the beginning of filtering all aspects of whether or not we would consider doing a business. And for us, it's a quick assessment. If we're looking for consumer products, it's what we love to create the most. We will venture out into different types of products depending on the entrepreneur and the opportunity. But for the most part, we're looking for consumer products. And for us, we're market agnostic. Like, we really would do almost anything if it was with the right founder and the right idea. But really, we want it to be developed within a certain capital structure, right? We want ideas that can be beta created for, $250,000 to $500,000. So we don't want some sort of technology concept for a consumer product that costs $25 million to like do the R&D and develop it. We would just never do something like that. It's not exciting. Like, how can we, for a few $100,000, completely develop a concept, and now have our beta version, and then can that product be brought to market for between $1.5 million and $2 million? That's sort of the construct for us. And that's, for the most part, almost any consumer product that you would think to create and be properly capitalized is sort of how we look at it. And we learn the hard way. Like, I've tried to spend $50,000 to create a product and then go to market with a couple $100,000 and try to use sales to like get it cooking, and almost all of the struggles that I have had in early consumer product development is just getting out to market with not enough capital and not giving yourself enough runway to get to product market fit. The system is built to use that capital to create the beta product, and then have enough capital to get to product market fit. So the next time you raise capital, you are doing it strictly to grow the company, not to survive, because that's where entrepreneurs get killed. They, raise capital to survive, and they just keep getting diluted. If you're going to play the venture game, you want to be able to continually find growth and only use capital to drive growth to limit your dilution. But in this process, the first thing that we do is we do a principal assessment after it meets our general criteria. And the principles, the machine principles are made up of 5 core values that every business that we create must have. We ultimately, want to discipline ourselves to make sure that we avoid certain pitfalls that happens to a lot of startups, and ultimately the companies that we have attempted to do in the past is what shaped these principles, right? And they're ever evolving, and currently it sits at 5, and there's probably a couple principles inside the principles right now, but as long as another defined aspect of what can lead to a clearer path to success becomes a principle, then we'll continue to add to them. But currently, our number one principle is a do-or-dier leader, right? And for us, we want to build a company with somebody that this is going to be their only thing. Like, this is the person that we're going to co-find it with. This is who we're going to rely on pushing and driving this thing through the highs and lows and the chaos that it actually takes to build a company. And so for me, I look at myself as a do-or-dier, and I want to build companies with other do-or-diers that have the same core values as me, right? And I describe a do-or-dier as those with the fortitude, grit, determination, and ambition, along with the relentless work ethic and unwavering self-belief to turn their visions into reality. And to me, it's the fortitude is courage, ambition is that desire, determination is that firmness and purpose, and grit is the resolve and the strength of character, To me, defining what the spirit, the work ethic, the self-belief, the drive, like really trying to define and understand more the mindset and mentality to lead the way with those that I partner with, because it ultimately makes all the difference, in whether or not something that could have been successful becomes successful, or something that had a ton of potential fails, because that's the type of core values it takes to weather the chaos that is building a company. The next thing we look at is we look for white space. And white space can come in so many different ways, right? Sometimes it can be a really subtle marketing angle. Sometimes it can be an extraordinarily, defendable IP. Like, whatever it is a unique value proposition for a core consumer, that is a feature or a benefit of that product that hasn't been done yet. It's very possible to launch into almost any category, no matter how competitive it is, if you have the right type of white space. And you see it in big categories over and over, where it's like, oh, this thing can't be disrupted anymore. And then somebody comes in and disrupts it. And the bigger the market, the more subtle the white space can be. But you never want to launch a brand and it just be exactly the way that all of the brands in the space that are already winning are, and you're just thinking, oh, we're just going to make a better version with a better, cooler name, without some sort of clear differentiation inside the market space. Inside the market. Another big thing for us is impact. Like, will it impact the world? And this doesn't impact the world in the sense of like, hey, let's convert water to energy and now no one's going to have to use gasoline in cars ever again and oil is going to be saved. It's not that type of impact. It's just making something real. We just want to make real companies that are built forever, and they go from the idea stage, are created, developed, brought to market, and acquired one day, but then they go on and live forever. Like, they really do impact the world, impact consumers, and ultimately make a dent in this world. That's really what we want to make sure when we're looking at an opportunity. Multiple revenue advantages. Like, we want to build something where it's extraordinarily clear, where there's advantages that lead to revenue. And this can be, having a founder and a team that's experts in performance marketing. This can be a relationship with a retailer. This could be a relationship with a consumer. This could be a celebrity that has a relationship with a consumer. We really want a clear opportunity to generate revenue from the get-go built into the companies that we design, rather than get to market and just hoping somehow, some way, that customers are just going to discover the product. That's what we really, really try to avoid. And above all, we need a clear path to liquidity. At the end of the day, we love to create companies, but we're really wanting everything that we create to create some sort of return, both on from a capital perspective, in that, this can come in many different forms, right? Like, we're okay if we build a business and we're going to do a $2 million business that does $500,000 in profit, that we split 50-50, we make $250,000 a year. That's fine, right? Like, we also want, if it's a growth company, we want to make sure that there's, a real appetite to acquire this type of business. So if we invest in just overall growth, that we know that, within a certain amount of time, there's a clear possibility that this company will be acquired. But when we put all of that together, that's where we make sort of our first stop inside the process that is the machine method. At this point, we really want to understand like that this fits these principles, and this is something that we would be open to developing completely. And then at that point, we're like, okay, this feels amazing. Meet all of our principles. Now let's go even see if this idea is real. Because the problem is I will hear something for the first time and be like, this is white space. This is a do-or-dier right here. This is who would buy it. Like, oh man, like there's so much opportunity to scale this. Like I would be so into an idea and not even do a Google search to see that there's 10 other ideas exactly like this, just because it's the first time I ever heard it, that I just assumed like nobody's done it before. And this really led to creating an extensive immersion that we call it, which we essentially, we look at all aspects of the concept and the market surrounding this idea after it kind of fits our principle fit. Because for us, it's like that immersion will either validate the idea that it's a real opportunity, or it'll literally stop it dead in its tracks. And so many different times I have just loved an idea, fit all of our principles, and then as soon as we got through that immersion, you end up in the end of like, man, they're just... there isn't an opportunity here. Especially sometimes you'll think, man, this could be so big. This could be like a $50 million business. And then you look in the market and see there's things that are similar, and none of them have gotten bigger than a few $1 million. There's been no M&A activity, no venture activity. Like you just really begin to see that, nope, there actually isn't a consumer for this. And if it is, it's just a really, really small business. Then you tie that back to, okay, it's a really small business that's like low margin and the cost structure's bad. Like then it's really hard to make profitable and sustainable. We lose interest from being extraordinarily excited to seeing the truth in the data and in the research that says, hey, this isn't necessarily the right opportunity. And it can also act in the other direction, where like, boom, you look at this immersion and it's like, wow, this is white space. Not only that, but man, it could actually be even more white space. And if we, went for this pricing strategy, this could actually be an 80% margin. Like there's so much stuff that can be discovered. And at the end of that discovery phase, it is, we end up with sort of an opportunity hypothesis. Like we can say, man, if we created this company, that it really could potentially tackle this percentage of the overall market and potentially be, a $30-40 million business that trades at, 3-4 times revenue. There's a clear path here to build a $150 million business and have it acquired, right? So now we have just this general hypothesis that we make the decision at that point. Do we want to go into the diligence phase, right? Because when we go into the diligence phase, now we're spending real money, time, energy, everything. Because this is, more than what I would consider sort of traditional diligence and venture or private equity, where you're looking to acquire a business and you're trying to make sure all the numbers align and audit the financials and understand, are there any hanging chads, anything hanging in the liability side that isn't coming to the forefront. This is sort of the process of when someone would diligence a company and their team and all these different aspects. But we're building from the idea stage. So we are wanting to really know everything that we can about the potential idea and this do-or-dier co-founder that if we decide to build this company with, that we're going to be together forever. It's why we say build together, bound forever, is when you create something from the idea stage, you are literally getting married. You are now co-founders, and you will be together for the life and the existence of this idea as long as it stays in business. And it's a much more complex process. And for us at this point, we still have no paperwork with any potential partner. We go through this extensive process in the diligence phase to learn as much as we can, not only about the business and the potential opportunity, but how it is to work with this individual as well, right? And we get deep. We spend a lot of time and resources to really build the beta version of what we would eventually go on and build and bring to market, right? And this involves a process of the machine method that we call the initial shaping of our machine core elements. The initial shaping of the machine core elements. And the core elements are made up of three different pieces. It's the core to more consumer, the core business capabilities, and the core leadership engine. For us, this is the heart and soul and engine and all of the moving parts that make up the company. And spending the time in this diligence phase of really thinking through multidimensionally how the entire business will function together and how all of that leads itself to an actual investment opportunity is why we spend so much time, energy, and cost in developing this initial version of the company very thoroughly in this phase. Again, before we've ever even done a deal or signed anything with our potential partner, because it's so extensive. It really begins to open our eyes to the skill set of the co-founder and the person that we're creating the business for. It also begins to let us feel like what this company will really begin to look like. And by going through this process, I look at it as this initial shaping is the first step in an accelerated path to product market fit, right? Because you should really begin to understand the consumer, the pricing strategy, the product strategy, how you're going to create the media, how you're going to market it, how you're going to sales it, how you're going to do sales, how is it going to all connect and work together from an operational standpoint, and then ultimately, how does that look like? Or what does that look like in a financial opportunity? And so let me start with core to more consumer. For me, it's when you can define who you're making a product for super specifically, that is when you're making the product for a core consumer, right? Now, when I say a more consumer, it is when the value prop or the features and the benefits of that product that you're making can appeal to any consumer. That's the more side. Let me give you an example of my old life of professional skateboarding. So if you're going to make a skateboard company and sell skateboards, that is a core-to-core product. Only people that ride skateboards are going to buy a skateboard, okay? But if you made the Stefan Janowski Nike skate shoe, now you are making a shoe that's perfect for a skateboarder, but the fact that it's a shoe, anybody can wear a shoe. So now it is a core to more product because it's actually being made for a core audience, but it has appeal to a more audience, right? Or a more consumer. So that's sort of the premise. And the beauty of it is you can map this out. So you know how to target like specifically the consumers that you really want to build this company around and always be sort of your authenticity anchor for. But ultimately you understand your path of both product scale and distribution scale that will allow you to reach a larger audience, because if you can't reach a certain size audience, that will limit the size of your actual company. So then once we sort of establish who the consumer is and what that core to more consumer looks like, all of that will inform how we create our core business capabilities. And for me, I used to look at business as, it is, your brand and creative mind, and then there's like the business mind. It's the business nuts and bolts of a business, and then there's the creative side. But what I realized along the way, that there are 7 core business capabilities that make up all aspects of a really well-designed, well-ran business. And each of these needs to be fully integrated in order to have a great company. And it starts first with product vision. At the end of the day, it is your product is always going to be your hero. And that product vision, not only is it like sort of the value proposition of the product and the features and the benefits of that product, but it's also like, where can that product go? Is it a single product? Is it a product platform? These are the things that need to be decided very early on. And for us, we look at businesses no longer as like, if it's a single product, it's not something that we would want to do. We would want to only do, a product core value proposition that can be applied across an entire product line. That gives you a lot more opportunities to scale the business, scale the consumer, and ultimately give you opportunities, if your initial products aren't working, on applying the same core value of your business to other form factors that might have a better shot at finding consumer and ultimately product market fit. Then next is brand. The brand is the soul of the company, like the name, the design, the feeling, the mission, the vision, the position, the way that it actually is presented to the consumer is so important, right? So now you got your amazing product and your, that can be a platform and a clear value proposition. Now you want that brand and the name and the identity and the feel and all aspects of that brand to connect back to that value proposition, right? So now you're connecting product and brand. It begins to feel as one. And for us, the next big way of presenting yourself is now your owned media strategy. This is now how you go from your product into your brand, and now how is that translated into your content and what you look like on social, and in the way that you present yourself, and how you share that core product value prop through your design now into content that is shared across all platforms. Because, in this day and age, like, businesses need to be omni-channel, and more than anything, they need to be able to be a business as media. There's no longer this world in the dawn of social media and creating your own content and being your own studio, if you will, that you're not your own media company. So now you have an amazing product and product line vision that's perfectly tied back to your brand and its look and feel and name and sound. Now that look and feel and mission and vision is translated across to media. And now your entire owned media universe is delivering on this look and feel and feeling that's being fueled by the value prop of your product that has been gotten the insights from who the consumer is that fueled all of this from the very beginning. And then the next major thing you got to develop is marketing strategy, right? And Now you have this amazing product and brand and media and content that you've created around it. Now it's about strategy, right? So you've got to put together both the sales strategy and the marketing strategy and look at them both separately, right? Because you've got to decide how you want to distribute this product, where you want to distribute this product, and then that will inform how you choose to spend the money, the time, the energy to market this product. Is it influencer marketing? Is it through earned media? Is it paid media? Like, you ultimately have to build the strategy that seamlessly connects your marketing and sales strategy based off of who your core consumer is, and then deliver on the marketing materials based off the value proposition and the amazing brand and the content that you've created. That is the fundamental workings of how those 5 pieces seamlessly interconnect. And the following 2 pieces are essential to the business itself working. Now you tie those 5 pieces together, which is product vision and brand vision, own media strategy, sales strategy, and marketing strategy, to the operational and financial design. Because now getting all of that to work seamlessly together and actually be able to have the supply chain and understanding the product and getting the product in and having it shipped out and going through sort of all aspects of personnel and everything that it actually takes to operationalize a business, you have to understand in order for it to be successful. And then finally, that all has to tie back to a clear financial design. You know, at the end of the day, a business is only as good as it is financially viable. And together, these 7 core capabilities make up a multi-dimensional view of what a successful business needs to ever reach its potential. So for us at this phase, we're trying to put a strategy and a plan to all of this, you know, so that we can really begin to understand all aspects of the opportunity, including certain little things that we may not fully understand. If there's trade cost for if you want to go to retail, you know, if there's co-packer fees where the margins aren't nearly what we thought it could be in the first place. There's all these different things that are revealed when you develop through these 7 core capabilities. Then the final thing we do is the core leadership engine inside the machine core elements. You know, it is now who are the people that have the skill sets and these 7 core capabilities that can run this business. And you know, for us, it is, man, we want Do-or-Dier co-founder CEOs that have general knowledge in the 7 core capabilities, because that means they have the ability to hire the right people in each one of these particular divisions. And sometimes, you know, you have, you know, a really great financial, you know, an operating mind CEO that just doesn't understand brand and media very well. Sometimes, you know, you have an amazing product and brand person that doesn't understand marketing and sales, right? It's really assessing the CEO and understanding where their skill set is, and then ultimately, how do we put together a plan to fill out an organizational chart to make sure that all of these 7 core capabilities are covered, and then how do we make sure that there's also advisors that come along and support the business that have a deep experience and knowledge in this particular industry. But that is what we do in the diligence phase. And keep in mind, we're doing all this before we've ever written any type of paper, any type of agreement, because, you know, we don't we want to learn, right? And we don't mind if we spend all this time and energy and create this entire sort of beta version of the company and not do it, because we learn so much every single time that we do it. And at the end of the diligence phase, we have what we call the opportunity package. And inside this is, complete financial model, complete sort of beta version of the brand and the marketing strategy and the product line strategy and some just general shaping of the own media and what it's going to take to operationalize it, and all of this kicks back down into what we call the unified theory, which is essentially a model, a financial model that has, all aspects of the business accounted for. This is everything that we would do if we decide to do this business. This is the exact cost structure. This is how much capital is going to be needed to get it developed initially, get it to market, and then grow it. And then what this company would trade for, who we think would buy it, and how big do we want to make this company before we sell it, and then how much money would we make when we sell it. That is how much detail and much understanding of what we want before we ever decide to cut a check and do a deal together. And then we sit down with our future partner and say, hey, here's what we think. We think, we would have to raise, 200, we would have to spend $250,000 to develop this. We will help raise the $1.5 million to get to market, and we'll need $2 million of growth and $3 million of a B round to get us to $30 million in revenue, where we think this company can trade for 4 to 5 times that, and we want to sell this company for somewhere around $150 million in 5 years, which at that point, through the dilution and the equity we've given away as part of our option pool and for our employees and different strategics along the way, we at this point will have 35% and you will have 35%. And this is how much money we would expect to make within 5 years. Do you want to do it? Right? That's the level of depth. So, and we call it the before you start win mentality, but it really is getting such a deep and clear alignment at this crucial phase before you actually ever become partners. Because what happens a lot of times in this phase is it just becomes clear that, hey, it's a great idea. This is, and this person, has an amazing vision, but they're just hard to work with. They're not fun to work with. They're always pushing back and not collaborative. And for us, again, on that build together, bound forever, we're bound for life. So it's not like we are in some sort of position where the idea is just so good, we're going to compromise that. At the end of the day, when we decide to pull that trigger, that is you being a part of our family forever, and we celebrate it. So at the end of that diligence phase, we decide to become partners. That's it. This is now where it becomes real, because now we put up all the capital to develop almost every business that we do for the most part. And that's it. We're partners. And that's the first thing that we do in that process is we turn you into an action figure. What better way to celebrate than turn you into a Do-or-Dier limited series action figure? And because now you are part of this community of Do-or-Diers, you are one of our family members for life, and we want to celebrate that moment. And again, where we integrate our media here is the first time that you as a listener will discover and meet one of our Do-or-Dier partners will be when we are going through an episode and sharing everything we learned, and then making the decision if we're going to partner or not. That is the beginning of one of our companies being integrated into this show, because part of this show is ultimately, being part of the machine method and the actual process of following along and learning about how we think, the type of companies that we're looking at, and then why we ultimately decide to create and build a company. So now here we are. We have the beta version of this entire company developed. We now funded it. Now we move into our build phase, right? And in the build phase is now taking all of this beta information and that we did in the diligence phase and now making it real, right? From the product side, now we're going out and finding manufacturers and going and actually creating the product that we're going to go to market with. On the brand side, we're hiring agencies and potentially brand managers or creative directors to help us now completely take the beta version of this brand and turn it into a brand guidelines and what will ultimately be the real brand that is brought to market. We also begin at this phase to integrating testing at a really high level. And the reason we wanted to create our own community, the machinists, for testing in a feedback loop is we want people to be part of our process, but also be our sounding board and be the ability to be our ears and eyes outside of what we're doing together inside the room. Because there's just, I get too fired up. I think my ideas are the best. And then, God forbid, me and a Do-or-Dier founder getting all high on each other's ideas and thinking how amazing we are and how amazing this concept's going to be. And then get to market and people just it makes no sense to them, or they don't like it, or for whatever reason. I have learned from doing it many times that you are better served to be constantly testing and getting feedback through the building process. Because in the build phase, you still have so much time to do so much failing before you ever start burning money. Because for us at this phase, we've capitalized it. We've put in the development money. It's usually all of our resources and the single founder do-or-dier solopreneur at this point. And our internal resources are now helping create and shape and build the business. And we don't want to just start burning money until we have a clear path to revenue. But what this sort of extensive development process and constant testing and getting feedback, what it really does is allow you to basically do all of this learning and failing and redoing and getting things right before you ever get to market, right? And another essential part of our process of just trying to help create that accelerated path to product market fit is how much the actual process does so many of the things that help lead to that product market fit before you ever even launch the product in the first place. And it's an exciting time. It's the most exciting time that there is in all of creating a business, because it's like you see the product for the first time. It's like, what? You see the packaging design. It's like, oh, then the actual product and the packaging, like, what is this? It's like, oh, the website's done. It is. We say fueled by the joy of creation. It really is the most amazing, extraordinary experience, this phase of building and seeing the whole thing come alive. And it is, something I'm addicted to, and I love doing it over and over, and it never gets old. After we have built this extraordinary brand, we want to get out and raise capital. And raising capital with the right people at the right time, especially at this pre-seed, seed stage, is extraordinarily important, because you want strategic capital, celebrity capital. You want every type of capital that is going to add to some advantage in driving revenue, right? Like the type of people that you have at this stage also is very telling to the type of business that you've created. When you can raise capital with the perfect strategic partners very quickly and easily, you have created an amazing brand, right? And now you have all the capital that you need. You have put together and built the entire brand. Every single aspect of this business is ready to launch. And now it is time to go to market. And go to market is one of the most comprehensive, complex, scary, and most hardcore undertakings an entrepreneur will ever go through. And we head into the launch phase. And this is, the moment of truth. Okay. The launch phase is the moment of truth. There is a reason why, a lot of people refer to the first year and a half in business as the valley of death. It's because it don't matter how much hard work and research and everything that you put in, you do not know how this company is going to be received by consumers until you get into market, right? And again, what do we do as a process? Throughout this process, then we're featuring the show on Build with Rob and showcasing our development and all the things we've been learning in all aspects of this. At this point, we're integrating it through our social channels and the Dyrdek Machine's own media and my own media. And if we have influential investors through their earned media, it's like we have the machinists connected and prepared to go to market after learning as much as we possibly can. So our process is to prepare us for this march into the valley of death. But it is still, in fact, this big unknown. And really, when you launch a business, you learn everything. And for us, it's not about getting out to market and launching and hoping it works. It's about doing deep audience development ahead of actually launching, developing and creating a strategy after really understanding who the target consumer is and how and what ways of marketing to them are most likely going to work. We've done an extensive understanding of pricing strategy and what products to lead with and all of this, but it's still not about the launch. It is the moment you get to market, it is now the clock is ticking, because now you have a certain amount of runway with capital and you have got to do everything that you can to find growth, right? And find sales and again, why the principle of multiple advantages, multiple revenue advantages matter so much is so that you can begin to be generating the revenue and giving yourself an opportunity to use the capital you raised to give you runway and growth that leads to, in some cases, we've launched businesses where we didn't even need to raise money. We had so many revenue advantages that just the moment we got to market, our revenue exploded and we never had to take on capital again. And we've launched companies that have got to market and didn't sell anything for the first year because of the fact of not being prepared and overestimating what we thought the consumer would be rather than knowing who the consumer is, then building a relationship with them and then refining that relationship and now beginning to understand how to nurture and scale that relationship, right? That is everything that is within this launch phase. And the launch phase is the most critical. I really believe that whether or not you are really going to have a truly successful company within the first few months of launching. And there's probably a lot of debate, and a lot of people could talk about how they, had a company for 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, and then it finally blew up. Cool. I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but that was a painful experience. And then when it happened, you're like, what? You know what I mean? You just got lucky. We don't play the game for that. Like when we get to market, it is like, okay, if this isn't working, we better start figuring out a way to make it work right now, not keep doing the same thing over and over, hoping that it works. And why we like platform products and adding pre-pivots, for us, it's like, hey, here's the hero product, but we have 2 other products on deck that are non-correlated to this exact product that we could that share the same value proposition, that we could turn to this product if this one isn't working, if there's some sort of issue or miscalculation or market trend. These are sort of the things that we've learned over time, and that why and how we've applied them to every single one of our ventures and how important they are. But at the end of the day, this launch phase has one place to get to win, and that's product market fit. And product market fit, it is simply like the consumer is adopted the product and its pricing and distribution, right? If you're a D2C company, if you're a omni-channel company, like, you now have a consumer that has adopted this product, that is loyal to it and growing. And you now have a more refined business model. Where you have to spend money on your marketing and your content and in order to drive the sales, and what sales channels you need to be in. You understand exactly who your consumer is and the relationship that you have with this consumer, that you can now invest more money and scale this business, right? And the goal for us in this entire process is to get to that point, because at that point now you can go out and raise capital, and that capital is going to be used to scale this business, to grow more consumers, to grow a larger product line, a product offering that scales revenue. Now you are truly on your pathway to the end, right? And for us, now becomes sort of the process of what and how big do you want to make this business. Now make no mistake, you're not home free when you find product market fit. It will forever be this chaotic dogfight to figure it all out and grind through it, and constantly changing and evolving as the market's changing and evolving, and trends are moving out and opportunities are popping in. Like it's this constant chaos, as creating and running a business always will be. But at some point, as you begin to scale, you will reach certain thresholds where it is a better time than others to create a liquidity event, to sell your company, or take chips off the table, whatever it may be. And that's at certain sizes, right? Because for us, even though we love creating, and want to be co-founders and create this amazing company, we're still judging ourselves off of how much money we make. At the end of the day, it is still venture capital above everything. And for us, there's thresholds, right? It's, there is a couple thousand people that would buy your company for 75 to 150 million. There is, 40 or 50 people maybe that would buy it for 200, 250, 200 to 250 million. But above that, we're talking 3 or 4 people would buy a company beyond that level, or you're going public, right? So for us, even when we start with this before you start when mentality, like, hey, we want to build this and sell it at this price and make this much money. And we like to stay really disciplined to that, but sometimes we can see a founder has a clear path to taking a company public, and we'd like to go for that ride. It's not necessarily like you have to like stick to that exact plan forever and always, but no matter what, there has to be some sort of liquidity event, because that ultimately is the ending for us and where we ultimately will judge ourselves. And that is the great exit, right? And for us, again, we celebrate this in the highest and realest way because it is an extraordinary moment. The idea of just talking about a potential idea with a Do-or-Dier co-founder, and then 4 years later, you sell that company and put a button on it and can look at an exact dollar amount that you made on your ROI and your IRRs over 4 years. It's extraordinary. And so for us, we then celebrate. And we celebrate in a realist way. Unlike any other person in venture, private equity, incubator, I don't care what it is. We are the only people that do championship trophies and a limited edition wine. And then after the trophy presentation and the liquidity vintage presentation, then we take a portion of that exit and then we donate to the Do-or-Dier Entrepreneur Foundation. For us, the foundation is our opportunity to share our philosophy of what it takes to create a successful business, but share that philosophy and give an opportunity to give capital to those in underserved communities that would never have access to capital. And even the way the foundation is set up, like it's really a business plan competition program where ultimately anyone that qualifies can present their idea through our business model that's framework that is the machine method, and then we can select winners and give them the capital that they would otherwise never have any chance of getting to go out and live their entrepreneurial dream and at least get it started and begin those initial lessons and learnings that it takes to ultimately end up being in a position to create a successful business. And look, that is everything that is the Dyrdek Machine. It is the one-of-a-kind venture creation studio that is a fully integrated multi-platform universe of venture building, media, community, and philanthropy. And I hope that can give you further insight to not only how I think, but how much I absolutely just love creating companies with like-minded do-or-diers and going through every single part of the process. It is my life's mastery. I just want to get better and better and better at curating individuals, shaping ideas, building companies from concept to acquisition. That is my true life's calling and something I look forward to not only doing for many years, but helping educate people on everything that I learn along the way so that all entrepreneurs can experience the fulfillment and the joy that comes along with creating great success when building a company. If you think you have what it takes to be a do-or-dier and partner with me and build an amazing company, or if you want to join our growing community of machinists and be the first to test our new products and help us manufacture amazing, go to DyrdekMachine.com. Make sure you subscribe to Build with Rob wherever you join us, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and anywhere else you get your podcasts and videos. And most importantly, remember, you got to create the vision in your mind. You got to create the plan to prove to yourself it's possible. Then you've got to attack it with everything that you got. See it, believe it, do it. We'll see you next time on Build with Rob.